What's up, everybody? We are live today. We're going to do a quick live stream talking about the story of Fran. So I think it's important that we spend some time going back and looking at where some of our benchmark workouts came from. We use them all the time to get plugged into, whether it's an affiliate workout of the day or even into higher level training. We use these benchmarks to test and retest. Sometimes workouts like Fran become a bit obsolete for the high level competitor because it's essentially maxed out based on your own body's mechanics. Excuse me. So you can't go any faster than a certain point and then how long your levers are. So Fran's not one of those benchmarks that carries over to the elites anymore, but there's a very cool story behind it, the point of it. And I think the thought process of creating a workout like Fran led to the whole CrossFit, part of the CrossFit methodology. So we're going to watch the story of Fran with Greg Glassman telling it himself. It's a short video today. It's like 7 minutes long. I'll stop it a couple of times, talk about a couple points I think are really interesting. And then that'll be it for today's show. Probably going to keep it to about 20 minutes. Hi, Don. Welcome in. Thank you. Don's my VIP visitor. I have a feeling the second I allow subscriptions to my channel, Don, like VIP subscriptions, Don will be the first. That's my guess. All right, so let's get this video going. I'll try to adjust the audio as we go, but it's the story of Fran.
Do you have 3 ones that you're the most proud of? Fran and Fran. I don't know. I hate that thing.
How's the audio of the video, guys?
Is a young gymnast and just new to high school, I entertained the notion I could become a stronger gymnast with weights, and the conclusion of that experiment was a fuck yeah, and surprisingly, it was really hard to communicate to other gymnasts.
All right, I'm going to stop for 1 second. His answer, can you get better at gymnastics by using weights? And his answer is simply, fuck yeah. This is one of the things that just resonated with me with Greg from the start. Like when I first got into CrossFit, being a fitness professional meant you had to have a certain look, probably a high and tight haircut, a certain outfit you had to be on. Like they just had this look that fitness professionals had, and they didn't necessarily talk like that unless you were, I don't know. But the answer, fuck yeah, can you get better at gymnastics with weights, is the perfect answer to resonate with me. And the second he says, fuck yeah, I go, okay, I believe you. Let's keep going.
That you should be lifting weights. And there were things you could develop on the rings with weights, strength-wise, that were pretty hard to do just on the rings. Part of the reason was that just getting above the rings took a lot of energy and it made a lot of stuff hard for reps, where it wasn't the case with weights. But anyways, old man was cool enough to back the station wagon out of the garage and clean it up for me and let me convert it into a weight training facility. And this was in 1972, 71, 72. And it took me down to Sears, and for $19.95, a 110-pound weight set. And it was a Ted Williams, the baseball player, had to put his name on a weight set. And it was a blue plastic, cement filled, and pulled the station wagon out of the garage. And I was a competitive gymnast, and I needed something that would make you sit on your ass and gasp for air, simulating 2-minute ring routine, P-bar routine. And that's what they would do early in the season, right?
Okay, so he had a stimulus, he had a plan in place, right? He wanted to do something that would give him the same metabolic feel as a 2-minute P-bar routine. So the amount of energy it takes, the amount of oxygen it takes to continue on, he needed something that would have that same demand. And when you look at what's out there for training before something like CrossFit, sure, you could do some type of interval style training, whether it's sprints or intervals on a bike or even a rower or something like that. But that's limiting the similarity of the feel of the implement of being on the P-bar. There's a lot less pulling or certain dynamic movements that you would experience while you're breathing super heavy like that. So he's putting together the pieces of a very basic principle that you even find in today's and even old exercise physiology, is the SAID principle, specific adaptation on implied demand. So like the best stimulus you'll get from something for a certain goal is similar to the goal, in the sense of, if you want to get stronger at bench press, you would work through bench press. Sure, you could do different accessory movements to help, maybe a little stabilizer muscle, strengthen the shoulder, whatever. But the overall thing, if you want to improve on something, you do that specific thing to improve on it. So at a certain point, I'm not saying Greg in particular, but athletes could max out probably what they could do on the P-bar. So how do you add something to it to take it to another level? He's looking at weights, but he still has to get that similar feel. So again, here we are.
Early in the season, they were brutal in terms of the cardiorespiratory demands, and simultaneously, I mean, no one doubts it, gymnasts have to be strong. And if you get off the apparatus and you're hunched over, or you vomit, or you're gape mouth breathing hard, wild and tear, you will be deducted for that. And so you have to get off and look cool as a cucumber, like that was fun, or it's held against you. And so the conditioning was a critical component. Well, I'm looking through this Ted Williams guide to weightlifting, and the morons doing lateral raises and curls, and I'm like, that's got none of the feeling. There's no amount of lateral raises or curls that's going to sum to what I feel when I do this. And so I just stumbled across, well, if you bring the bar to the chest and get as low as you can and drive it to overhead, the thruster is born. That's 10 of those takes me towards that feeling. And so So
another thing that's important to note, it's not just the weight of the movement that creates that feeling. It's the range of motion of a movement that creates that feeling. And he recognizes that with the creation, so to speak, of the thruster. So the same way that like a bar muscle up, when you do it well, is very efficient. It's not that the work on the bar muscle up is a big deal. It's the range of motion that creates the demand. So a thruster is a long range of motion, which means you're under tension a long amount of time. So one rep covers this great distance that requires this energy, this oxygen. So that's what gasses you. And he starts to use longer range of motion movements. It's the reason we see the wall ball. It's the reason I think he likes the rower so much in early CrossFit compared to the Schwinn Aerodynes back then. The range of motion on a rower, that one powerful stroke, is such a high demand. It can mimic a lot of the things he's used to in gymnastics with these big range of motion movements. So that's just my interpretation of it anyway.
Pull-up bar in the door jamb in the garage out to the outside. And it was one of those Voight. It was an AMF product, the thing that you twist and expand into the jam. Remember those? Skip? You know, the best mount of a doorway pull-up bar ever was when you took the rubber caps off of that and open it up until it digs into the jam an inch each way. That's the one that won't come out.
I think my dad had the same weight set.
Parents love that. So I don't know where it came from, but I did 21 of these thrusters and 21 pull-ups, and 15 of each, 9 of each, and unceremoniously threw up all over the garage floor. My German Shepherds cleaned it up.
My dogs would do the same.
And I went over to cross the street and knocked on my buddy's door. Brian is a fellow gymnast, and he answered the door. He's, dude, what's all over your shirt? I'm like, never mind that, come with me. And a trainer is born, right? And we did the same thing, and he did the same thing, and it was cleaned up. And I go, let's go get your brother, and we went and go into the house and go to his brother.
So if this isn't the epitome of what CrossFit is for a community, that's the whole story is so funny to me. So he does this workout. I don't know how he came up with 21, 15, 9, those rep schemes, but for whatever reason, he found the magic in that, and it's perfect. Somehow I don't know if Greg really did it in 2 minutes back in the day when he was fitter. That's insanely impressive. If he did it with 95 pounds, I would guess he'd be a little longer than 2 minutes, but probably the stimulus is intact, right? I know many people who have thrown up after Fran. I've probably been close to it. My first CrossFit workout ever was Fight Gone Bad, kind of a similar intensity level, at least for the beginning of it, or at least the way I approached the first round of it. I was puking my guts out after. So everyone's had that feeling. And then once you get that feeling and you come down from that, you're like, whoa, I can't wait to tell everybody about this. And I can't wait to do it again because it gets you so excited. So he runs to his neighbor, brings his neighbor back, has his neighbor do it, who inevitably pukes his guts out as well. And then the two of them, like kids, look at each other and go, yeah, let's get more people to do it. If that's not what you're doing to your family members and neighbors as you drag them into CrossFit gyms as you suffer, then I don't know what is. You might not all be throwing up every day, but man, is that funny to get that feeling of just like the feeling of seeing death at the end of a Metcon, collapsing and then coming back from it and going, give me more. It's really not matched with anything else. And it's funny how strong of an urge we have to share that with other people after we've gone through it. It's not because we want them to suffer. It's because we saw the whole experience of it and we thought it was such a net positive for ourselves. We want to bring other people in. It's, to me, that is just so funny having witnessed this for 16 years in CrossFit now and across all my gyms and all the new members that come in and get that experience. And I've seen this now thousands and thousands of times, the white in people's eyes when they're, oh my God, near the end of their first week of CrossFit. Just really funny what he was on to.
Brother's room, and he's like, what's on you guys? You smell like vomit, and we're like, come on. He's like, I don't think so. And much of what we see everywhere today, I saw that day, that that's about the numbers and how it plays out. And a workout was born. It's just that simple. You just try something. And what did I like about it? It wasn't the vomit. What I knew is that felt like what the rings feel like. Just like my cops will tell you, that's what a long foot chase and fight feels like. Like my martial artists will tell you, that's what it was BJ Penn had offered up on in terms of Fight Gone Bad. That we did the workout for him, and then asked him how'd that feel. It felt like a fight gone bad. And
it's my first ever CrossFit workout.
That's enough to hold on to something.
Couldn't even use the RX weights.
I hate that thing. We were going to take a athlete and put a heart rate monitor on, a downloadable heart rate monitor, and on one of our studettes, and then tell them at a seminar, you're going to do Fran in 5 minutes and mark the time and just watch what happens to the heart rate. Because few things will fill you with as much dread as knowing that some of these things are coming. And I know that both Josh Everett and Greg Amundsen have vomited in anticipation of anxiety, just through nervous anxiety.
The anxiety, I don't trust somebody if they don't have pre-WOD anxiety, because that means they're not experienced enough to know what's coming down the pipe. If you can't look at the workout and anticipate the amount of pain you either will be in or won't be in based on the stimulus, you don't know what you're talking about enough for me to trust your opinion on the workout. So I know many people who have thrown up before the workout in sheer anxious, just sweat of, oh my God, they know how bad it's going to hurt. And they're still willing to do it. They're not backing out. They're not making an excuse and going home. They're still willing to do it. It's like getting strapped in on a roller coaster and you're going up the hill for the first time and you're higher and higher and you look down, you're like, what have I got myself into? Well, you're strapped in, you're going for the ride. And that's a similar feeling you get pre-workout, especially when you're experienced and you know what's coming. Yeah, so funny. Even really fit people. And in fact, the fitter the athlete, a lot of times, they may be more willing to do it and wrap their head around it, but they know the hurt they're about to put themselves through.
What about the name? Where'd Fran come from?
You'd say, okay, you're going to do 21 thrusters. What's that? Okay, well, actually, it's 21 front squat with a follow-through press, and then in a contiguous set, and then the following set, you're going to do 21 pull-ups, and you have to complete all 21 because you go to the next exercise, break it up anyway, blah, 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 blah. It takes 5 minutes to explain the fucker. I want to explain it once and give it a name. And I thought that anything left you flat on your back, looking up at the sky, asking what the fuck happened to me deserved a female's name. Yeah, what happened to me? And they're not old girlfriends, and it's just like storms, you know. The hurricane that wreaks havoc in the whole town can be Fran, so can a workout.
All right, so that's the story of Fran. Really interesting how that 6-minute clip actually describes so much about what CrossFit is still about today. It's not about the puking or the vomiting part. That's a funny symptom of going really hard when you're not in as good a shape as you think you are. You've completely put your body into shock and pushed all the blood into your tissue and out of your organs. But my point being, it's really funny how a workout like that was intentionally created to not necessarily be destructive, but to meet a certain stimulus. He wanted to feel the same elevated heart rate while still needing to work fast and efficiently on a parallel bar routine that he potentially was working on back in the 70s, I think he said. And so adding weights to make it more challenging, but give the same sort of feel, he created a customized version of a way to train. And then that hurt him so bad, put him on his back. The second it happened, he realized he was onto something that he couldn't do by just training straight gymnastics, and immediately invited other people over to do it with him. And it's what we do too. So we go to our gyms. We may not have that same super high intensity experience every day, but most people really do give it their all on each of the workout of the days. And they leave, and then they become the annoying person at work or at school or whatever that is still talking about CrossFit. It's because doing something like this sort of ingrains it within you. And when you're that passionate and excited about something you found, discovered, that something that makes you feel that good, you do want to share it with somebody else. And so his pursuit of finding something that worked really well, making the product so good, so effective, so powerful, automatically created a pathway to bring other people to do the same thing. And that has not died out at all with CrossFit. Now, the way we market it and the way it's viewed and the perception of it has certainly changed since that seminar close to probably 20 years ago when he gave that talk. But the feeling behind the workouts remains the same. And that's what's super, super important. So I'll leave you with that, guys. Thank you. Quick stream today. Appreciate the few of you guys that tuned in. Yeah, trying to do this at least once a week. I'm going to get up to 2 times a week once I can get my schedule, and I'll have some guests here really soon. But appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next time.